story starts in a depressing forest amidst a thunderstorm. We see a knight has a man impaled on his sword, and it turns out that he's a vampire that they've been hunting for a while. As he mentions that he must have had fun hiding for half a year, and that surely he killed a lot of people during that time, it was a pretty decent trick for mocking them, as we learn they're a group of holy knights. He tells them that his role is over now, as God will no longer allow him to do as he pleases, but to be honored as he's giving him the title of Vampire Slayer. In further sense of deceiving the church, and failing to accept the punishment of the holy knights, his appearance has proven all of his sins. But before he kills him, he wants them to know that this entire time they didn't capture him right away on purpose. The reason he joined the pursuit squad late, and the reason he's been allowed to do whatever he wants is because he's a vampire that's appeared after a long time, and he had to act slow in catching him so that they'll gain more attention. The vampire grits his teeth saying that he was aware that this is a world where only the strong survive, and everything is decided solely based on strength, and that's why he ran away. As he charges at the holy knight cleaves straight down, slicing him in two. As the vampire is dying, he wonders if everything was for naught. The holy knight tells him that his existence alone defiles, and brings shame upon the church's image. The vampire says if only he had one more chance, he'll no longer sit idly by. We then see him jolting awake terrified, and he looks around wondering what's going on. He reaches for his face, making sure that it's still in one piece, saying that he was just split in half, yet he's still intact. He's sure he died. And while he just woke up, he knows that wasn't a dream, as this is definitely the tent he lived in before the church's holy knights chased after him, and based on the markings of the wall he's been here for around half a year, and that this was before the subjugation squad even started hunting him down, and he stands there just wondering if he returned to the past. But if this is another chance, he won't let it slip by. He explains that he's in a remote forest near Broadwind village, and humans barely pass through here, and he survived by hiding from humans because he was weak. He's a feeble vampire who held his breath, and barely got by each day, and we learn that his name is Eugene. And although he's never thirsted for human blood by nature, he succumbed to his instincts once long ago, and that single mistake ruined everything. The next day mercenaries swarmed the area, and within 5 days the holy knights had patrolled the village, and no matter how long it took they eventually always found him. Out of fear he survived by only drinking the blood of beasts for 12 years, which is partially why he looks like somebody's testicle. While he is curious about how he returned to the past, he says that he's more worried about not making the same mistakes. Even if he hides again, he'll just meet the same ending. The only choice he has right now is to become strong enough that even if they find him they can't kill him, and for him to do that he'll live the life of an actual vampire. He heads to a swamp, saying that this is where he'll start the first part of his strategy, and he explains that a vampire can absorb power through blood, and the stronger the owner of the blood the greater the power gained. As the water begins bubbling, something jumps out of it, and Eugene says that it's finally here. It's the master of the forest, and it's a big-ass alligator. It's like Lake Placid if you know you know. Eugene barely dodges the monster's attack, saying that he has to prioritize on avoiding every attack, but he just needs to land the smallest wound on it, as if he can drink its blood it'll be his golden ticket. Until now his entire survival strategy relied on him erasing his presence, but now that he knows hiding will eventually fail, he has no reason to hesitate, and he's more desperate than anyone to obtain the power to do so. As he strikes down at the monster's side, his blade chips and breaks, and as he's distracted in that single moment the monster tail swipes him, sending him flying across the ground, and he bounces along the water like when you skip a rock. We see he sustained heavy injuries, and as he looks up the monster is coming to finish the job. He says that he might have underestimated this roamer's strength. He explains that roamers are not dungeon monsters, but wild predators who wander the wilderness. Some roamers even appear in regions where there is no mana by carrying mana crystals, which are treated more preciously than gemstones. Mana crystals are extremely crucial for roamers, and if he could obtain a mana crystal the situation would change, but the difference in strength at the moment is too overwhelming, and he definitely underestimated it way more than he should have. A forest master level roamer could end his life before he landed a single blow. As he's about to fall into the water, Eugene says that he thought that since he got a second chance he might get another one after, but he doesn't know why he thought that in the first place. But he spent his entire life crawling, and holding his breath, doing anything to survive, but it's not something that he'd want to do again even if it means dying, as he starts biting the monster's tongue. He says that he'll carve his way forward no matter what it takes. He starts absorbing its blood, and we watch him change from somebody's testicle to a normal-looking person, and he says that he won't get another chance if he doesn't win, as there is no next time after defeat. He continues crawling through the monster's insides until he spots its mana crystal, and reaches his hand out towards it before he lunges at it with his teeth, biting it open, saying that survival has always come from standing on the blood of others. The crystal shatters, and in the middle of the swamp there's an explosion as Eugene says that he promised himself that if he was given another chance that he will no longer run away, as the monster gets turned into meat chunks, and spread out across the swamp. Eugene says that he will achieve victory against the knights this time. He then looks down at his hands, saying that he just needed enough blood to become the master of the forest, but since he absorbed its mana crystal, the mana contained in it was beyond his imagination. It was both a different color, and large in size. The ability he obtained through the mana crystal as well allows him to change his skin into scales. He might be able to move around during the day if he can block out the sun with this. He found out about the master of the forest through mercenaries. The wetlands aren't that vast so not many people know of it. However, as the area widened due to monsoons and floods, the master appeared and attacked mercenaries. He was able to drink a gulp of the injured master's blood during chaos before, and as a result he was able to take down several mercenaries and escape. He found out just how effective consuming blood was, and decided that he needed to drain more. That's why he came up with his plan. He gained the power to fight, but it's still not enough to fight the holy knight that killed him, and we learn that his name is Jungdert. He needs to stop himself from fighting a losing battle until he's certain that he can take him on. He explains more about Dirt, as he can find him no matter where he is, and it looks like he has an extraordinary skill that can find monsters or the undead, so that's why instead of hiding he should gather his strength so he can counter the holy knights. He looks up at the moon, saying that he does not have much night time left, but it's still too early to test out the power of the mana crystal, so he's going to head back before it rises. He then hears laughter beside him as a voice says that the fake master who usurped their territory and changed the beautiful lake into a swamp has finally died. They can't believe that Fake died in such a pathetic way, so they are grateful to Eugene. However, it's only right that he pays for the sin of staining these grounds with blood without caution. Eugene is surprised, and they explain that they are the guardian of this lake, and that this is their territory. Their name is Mirian. She says as the forest is infuriated, and the earth is enraged, he shall be cursed, and ripped to pieces. They keep yapping, even calling him bald, but Eugene just asks who they are. Mirian is confused saying there's no way. Eugene asks once more. She asks if perhaps he can see her. He says he can. Then she asks if he heard what she said. He says that she called him a bald vampire. She then instantly starts bowing saying that she's a water spirit, and she was originally the master of this place, but 15 years ago that monster took it from her, and she became a slave, but it was more of a strategic partnership as food would not come if the water was dirty, so it recognized that the water was her specialty. In any case, because of him, that crocodile is dead, and this place has been purified. She was certain that she saw a bald little man get eaten by the crocodile, but that must have been a disguise to lower its guard. One of Eugene's tattoos starts to disappear, and he wonders why. She then asks if maybe she should use formal language, and that his tattoos are marvelous, asking what they mean. And he says that he doesn't know either, he's just always had them. From a certain point onward he was a vampire, and that's how he was born. The last thing he remembers is that he had 10 tattoos all over his body. He's not able to recall memories from his early days, and he simply dedicated himself to living a quiet life, but he was never able to reflect on himself. If these tattoos are marks or a type of spell, then maybe one of them has been released because of what happened today. He tells her that he's going to leave now, and to protect the forest well. We see that he's also put on a mask, and she tells him that it's been a while since she had something to yap to, asking why he's already leaving. She's been bored for a very long time because the number of people who can see spirits keeps decreasing, and it's great to finally have someone to talk to. He says that he thought she was going to change the swamp back into a lake. She says that it's going to take forever to purify this, and she would be better off if she offers him some clean water. She's a water fairy so her water tastes really good, and if he drinks it his complexion will change too. She then starts to vomit the water up telling him to drink it, and he tells her to get lost, calling her a freak. She begs that he wait, as she can also purify water, and make any water drinkable. He tells her he doesn't need it, but she says that she can create more water if she pees instead of vomiting, telling him to wait. Several days later, at Broadwind Village, a man barges into the room telling the village chief to come with him, as the red-eyed monster has appeared. He's surprised when they head outside. What they see is multiple monsters laid out in front of the village. It turns out the red-eyed monster keeps donating them, and they don't know what he's thinking, as he usually gives them 3 animals once every fortnight, but it's early now, and more than 3. There's a monster who lives at the foot of the mountain far away from the village, which is who they know as the red-eyed monster. He's lived around this place for the past 10 years, and it's never been a threat to them. On top of that, he stops by at a late hour, and leaves dead animals once every fortnight, and they can't read his mind. We see it's Eugene as he asks if he can step foot into the village for a moment. They say sure, and they explain that when he first appeared everybody was scared of him. However, since he pays his taxes by giving them animals, no one pays any heed to him. That's how their relationship has lasted for over 10 years. They start greeting him saying that it's been a while. He says that he has something he wishes to say. After a long time in isolation, he's been healed of his sickness, and he came here wanting to share the good news, as he's received great help from his village, so he would like to return the favor. If something happens to this village, they can call him anytime they need, but they're just confused asking him what the hell he is, because he looks nothing like they remember him, saying before he looked like a testicle, and now they're blinded by how pretty he is. They then wonder if maybe they just saw it wrong, and he was a half-elf or a noble. They just genuinely can't believe he was this good looking, and Miriam asks why he gave up the animals he hunted, as a vampire should want blood, massacres, and death. Eugene explains that in the human world it's important to show your face, as it's a symbol of good faith. She says still he said he was going to leave in several days, so there's no need to get involved with them. He says he always thought there wouldn't be anything here, but he was wrong. He can't be a spectator to what will unfold soon. Before long, mercenaries will raid the village, and kill them all. The mercenaries came to Broadwin in order to find, and take a boy. It was to kidnap, and bring him to the castle of this region's lord, Sir Tyrwin. In order to prevent witnesses, they killed all the villagers. If he doesn't stop that from happening, the future where the holy knights swarm his place will happen just like last time. Miriam just wonders if it's true, but if so, how does he know it all, saying that she finds it hard to believe that they would kill everybody in the village. Even though she spent the past several days with him, she can't read him at all, wondering what he's even thinking. Eugene says that she'll find out soon enough if he's lying or not. In any case, he's going to gain the villagers' trust first to appear harmless to them. She asks what that has to do with the mercenaries, and then flies straight into him asking why he stopped all of a sudden. As she pulls on his hair, she looks over surprised, as on cue there's a group of mercenaries walking straight towards them. They start talking amongst themselves, wondering what's wrong with him, but also why his hair is floating. They say that he must be from the village, and if that's the case they can just deal with him since they were on their way there. This weird-ass guy says that he's pretty for a man, and he might just have to settle this one time. His boy tells him that he doesn't have a weapon, and he's alone. Bowl Cut tells him that it'll be bad if he screams, so they shouldn't give him the opportunity. As he charges in, Miriam starts screaming out for Eugene. As the man leaps at him, Eugene's eyes turn a dark color as he swings, cutting the dude's head off with his bare hands. He tells Miriam to think about it. He needs to gain the villagers' trust so they don't think that he's suspicious, since he's going to kill all these mercenaries after all. The mercenaries start screaming, saying that he must not be human, then realize he is a vampire. One of the mercenaries tells them to stop being scared, as this is a good thing. If they hand him over to the church alive, they will receive a huge reward for it. Eugene catches his blade, and comes straight for his head, cleaving it off as well. The merc says that this guy is no ordinary vamp, so they at least need his corpse. Eugene starts to twirl the blade in the air, before catching, and stabbing the man straight through the side. A bigger man comes in with a massive weapon, as the rest call him an idiot for running in. He says that he is going to deal with him now, as he swings the giant mace forward. Eugene catches it with his hands, and starts cracking the mace. The man is horrified that he stopped it, and Eugene warns them that the sun is setting. He then pushes the mace so hard to the side it causes the man to fall, and he kicks, cutting across his chest. As the man falls to the floor, he puts his foot on his head, saying that night time is where he reigns, and the best time to consume blood. The mercs though say they can't just run at him since he's a monster, they need to attack him all together, as all we do is hear them screaming throughout the night. Later, the villagers all look down horrified, asking how this could have happened, as what they witness is the aftermath of the fight. The chief then asks if this is the red-eyed monster, and then corrects himself, asking Eugene directly if this is his doing. He says of course not, he found them on his way back from his hunt as he was checking his traps. It seems like they were ambushed on the way to Broadwin village, and these guys are the culprits. He points to his side as what they see is a whole herd of black wolves. He explains that there were lots of them, so he went after them when they were eating the corpses. As they can see, some are dead, but there were more of them than the mercenaries. The ones that got away might be watching from somewhere right now too. The chief says that they're infamous for being a nuisance in this area, asking how he managed to kill them all on his own. The chief wonders if this really isn't the monster's doing, but the villagers say that there are claw marks on the corpses, which corroborates his story, meaning they were attacked by the wolves. The village chief says that the black wolves are hostile, but there's no way they would just ambush a bunch of mercenaries out of the blue like this. The chief says that he tells Eugene he's sorry he doubted him. Eugene says it happens, but asks what they're going to do with the corpses. He told them about it because he couldn't just leave them all here. The chief says that they need to go bury them in the village. Miriam says that Eugene is doing nothing but lying. The wolves happened to appear after he killed the mercs, so he killed them too. He's the one who caused the claw and teeth marks on the corpses, as he planted it that way. It's good that he covered up his crimes, but why does he care so much about his image? There would have been no need to do all this if he had just left. Of course they would suspect him, but they wouldn't have done anything about it. It seems like he has some kind of plan. He then reaches into his coat saying that he found this. He searched the corpses to look for items that he could give to their families, but one of them has a letter instead, asking the chief if he'll read it. The chief recognizes it as Lord Tyrwin's seal. His face instantly gets full of horror after he reads it, and he yells asking where Felid is. They tell him he's in the village asking why. The chief then says apparently Felid might be Sir Tyrwin's bastard son, and these mercenaries were hired to come capture him. They wonder if that means the kid is truly a noble. We get a flashback to Bullied watching everybody get murdered. He asks how the hell he's killing these people so fast, but they realize that if they go back they're going to be killed either way, so instead of hesitating to fight they should just charge him since he still has arms and legs like the rest of them. If they manage to take one they might be able to win. Bullied just wonders why he had to appear now out of all times, and charges in as Eugene is ripping the limbs off of one of the mercs. Eugene turns and kicks him straight in the chest, causing him to fly back into a tree. He falls onto the floor begging that he stops, and at least spare his life, then wonders if maybe he was waiting for them from the start, and if so why he targeted them as they're just doing their job. Eugene walks up to him saying that he wants to know what his job was, as that village is his. Bullied apologizes as he didn't know that was his village, and they're not here to hunt his kind, but the bastard son of the Tyrwin family is hiding there. People thought he went missing, but he was just hiding his identity, so they're here to look for him. Eugene says he's a proficient liar, wondering what the real purpose is. There's no way to have this many people for such a simple mission, which means they were planning to erase the village. He says that he's not completely wrong, but they weren't actually hired by the Tyrwin's patriarch. Another client was actually other people in the Tyrwin family named Kamara and Verthal. He guesses that there were some political problems, so they were hired to capture the bastard son. The reason there were so many of them is because they were being cautious just in case things went wrong, begging for forgiveness. Eugene says that he knew that the bastard would be involved in this, as Verthal is the commander of the vampire hunter squad, and also the knight who harassed him with dirt. Verthal probably wouldn't have ordered the mercenaries to massacre the villagers since he's a knight. That was probably these guys' decision. It's just that was the reason he was found by the paladins. So many people were activated with a search because of a whole village disappearing. Bullied says that he just thought it was a good opportunity. If he knew he was here he never would have done it. Eugene tells him to watch out for wolves on his way back. As he walks away Bullied asks if he's really letting him live, thanking him for mercy. Eugene picks up a shield off the ground and throws it like Captain America, cutting this dude's head off. Miriam asks why he's just going to kill him when he was walking away, but Eugene says that he knows he's a vampire, so he can't let him live, plus the wolves are here drooling looking at the food. Back to the present, the villagers ask if it's really true. The chief says it is. The dead mercenaries were guards who came to take Felid to the castle. They say that Felid lost his mother last year, but he's been here for over 8 years total, so how is that possible? The chief says the mercenaries were supposed to take Felid to the Lord, but now they're all dead, wondering what to do. Eugene asks if the boy needs to be taken to the castle. The chief says yes, and Eugene says the mercenaries might not have survived the beast, but he should be able to escort him to the city past the wolves since he has lived long in the woods. The chief asks if he would really protect him, but they can't ask him to do such a thing. Eugene says that it's alright, as a knight should never decline a chance to help. Miriam says that he has balls of steel for lying to be a knight, but is surprised that they're actually buying it. Because they're all just kind of staring at him. She starts yelling, asking what the hell he's thinking. He says he's sorry for the late introduction, but his name is Jan Eugene from the Eugene house. Miriam asks who the hell would even believe that. The villagers start wondering if the red-eyed monster was actually a noble, but then start correcting themselves, calling him Sir Eugene. Miriam says that even if it's a lie, this is going too far. He says that she saw their reaction too. These people have never seen a noble before. The whole village is in an uproar over the fact that the boy who was hiding away in a mountain village turned out to be one. Even if he pretends to be a noble, they have no way to tell the difference. They start asking if it's true he's a knight, but are more curious as to why he's been living secluded in the forest for more than 10 years, then ask about his training. He says that due to various circumstances he cut all ties with people, and lived here. They say that they thought he was different from the moment he started bringing food to the village. Thanks to a knight's excellence he was able to live in the forest all alone. The chief says their village is poor, so they don't really have the means to reward him properly. He says it's fine, as he'd like to rest, and relieve his fatigue, so he wonders if it's okay to stay in the village tonight. The chief says that would be no trouble at all, as his house is humble for receiving a knight, but he can stay at his home tonight with him. The next day we see him looking out the window explaining the ability he obtained from the master of the forest. It allows him to cover his skin with scales. He looks down as he starts to retract it, and he says that if he covers himself with them they block sunlight to some extent. Thanks to that there will be fewer problems on the journey. Miriam says that he sure is ignorant, wondering why he told a lie like that. He called himself a knight, but he can't even read. He says he might get found out someday, but he's going to leave anyway, so it doesn't matter. She tells him to start talking smoothly now, wondering what his goal is. They lived quietly in the forest all this time, so why is he suddenly making friends in this village, and even taking their request? The chief tells him that they are all ready to depart, and he points towards the door saying that he already gained his social status overnight. Humans sometimes trust a person's authority more than words. He can lie as much as he wants, but if he puts status in front he can ruse 100 lies to 10. This might be the only village that will accept such a hastily made up lie as it is, as nobles are much less likely to just believe it, so from now on he's going to turn this lie into the truth. He's built up trust through his good deeds so far, and he wrapped the lie in reliability. The chief gives him a letter explaining the situation, and then tells him to take good care of Felid. Felid introduces himself saying he looks forward to his guidance. Eugene says to turn all of these lies into truth he'll need a high status, and then introduces himself to Felid saying he's looking forward to working with him, but he plans to use him to become a real noble. It's now time for them to depart. They head out as we now see them on a mountain range. He says that village over there should be called Brahms. As Felid reads the signboard he says that should be it. Eugene asks if he can read, and Felid says he can. His mother taught him how to, and while her status was low, and she never received formal education, she said someone she loved taught her. He never imagined that person would be Sir Tyrwin. Miriam says that this works out nicely, and now he can ask him to teach him. Eugene then asks if he could teach him how to read, and write too. Felid's surprised, but also confused, asking if he really can't read even though he's a knight. Eugene explains that being a knight is for show. His family has already fallen, so there's nothing to boast about. Up until now it wasn't letters that kept him alive but a sword. Felid says that he didn't know any of that as he looks up at him with eyes full of worry. Eugene says that hopefully he believes him, and that once he does gain his trust it'll be thick enough to cover every lie. Miriam says that his acting is top-notch, but if he overuses lies people might start to suspect him. Then she looks at Felid, who's on the verge of tears, saying that there's no way this kid already believes him. Felid then says that he's sorry, and to be honest he was suspicious of him. They called him a monster rather than a noble, and since everyone in the village called him one as well as told him about how his appearance was different he was biased. But now he's going to judge with his own eyes instead of rumors, and if he comes from a warrior background as possible he neglected studying, and he'll secretly teach him whenever he can, so he won't be embarrassed in front of others. He then tells him to explain more about himself. As an arrow flies straight into Felid's eye, Eugene catches it right beforehand, and he drops to the ground screaming as a group appear in front of them. One of the men says he told him to pull it properly, and the crossbowman says that he did it exactly the way he taught him. Felid wonders if they're bandits. His heart starts to race. The man then literally reads his mind, saying that if they're already thinking it, this will be quick. They should put their luggage down, emptying everything in their pockets too. If they don't move their asses they're going to die quickly. The dude's head then gets hit flying within the next second, and rolls backwards towards Felid. Felid takes a glimpse at it, and looks horrified. The men start yelling out for their boss, and Eugene says that he moved just the way he wanted, and that was pretty nimble, and fast. Steve from Minecraft comes in with a swing of his pickaxe, but as well gets his shit lobbed off. But this doesn't stop there, as he cuts off every single one of their heads until there's a single dude left begging to be saved. Eugene raises the sword, and throws it like a spear, impaling the dude, and he says that he just really can't understand it. As the dude drops to his knees he asks why humans try to kill, and rob those weaker than themselves. If someone looks weak it doesn't mean it's fine to torment them. He tells Felid once he learns to read he wants to know if he'll be able to understand things like this too. He then cuts the dude's head off finishing it, and Felid goes to explain it, but holds back his vomit. Eugene says that he said he wanted to see with his own eyes, and he's free to believe whatever he wants, but he promises that not a single drop of blood will touch his body. They make their way into Brahms, and the city is bustling full of merchants left and right. Miriam goes crazy saying that this is so fun because there are so many strange and cool things. Felid then asks Eugene if he's planning on doing his shopping here, because if he is it's best to be careful, as he's come to this place a few times following the chief, and the merchant's exploitation is so bad that it's easy to get ripped off. The village chief always got completely flustered whenever he came here. Eugene says that he'd need money first before it even matters whether he's careful or not. He tells Felid to wait a moment as he walks towards a blacksmith. He tells the shopkeep he'd like to sell this leather, wanting to know the quote for it. The blacksmith says that it is black wolf leather, and you don't see it much around here, and there's quite a bit. He looks up at Eugene's face, and then back down at the wolf skin, saying that based on his shabby clothes he's not a trader, which means he's a wanderer, meaning he's easy pickings. He starts to smile saying that the damage of the leather is bad, and that it might not even be usable. At best it would be 18 silver coins. Eugene glares at him, and starts releasing killing intent, and the blacksmith freaks out wondering why his eyes are so red, and gets scared. He says of course the leather quality itself is limited by quantity, and its rarity is high, so he could pay more. Eugene continues to glare at him, and the dude wishes he'd just yell instead of staring, and he laughs saying that it's his first time so he'll be generous, and at best he'll give him 23. Eugene continues staring, and the blacksmith wonders if he's really not happy with that. He says 25 coins. But this continues as Felid watches it get over 28 now. Eugene continues staring, and the blacksmith wonders how much he's trying to squeeze out of him. He says 30 silver coins as he can't go any higher. Eugene agrees, but Felid's surprised, saying scammer get scammed. That night they set up a camp outside the village as Eugene's trying to learn how to read. He says it just looks like worms, and he's learned the basics from Felid, but he's still far from being able to properly read. Miriam then says that his clothes look pretty decent though, and when you think of vampires it's usually silk robes, but for this quality the money was definitely worth it. He says unlike what he was worried about, this market was pretty generous, as he even got some extra for being a first-timer. Miriam laughs saying that dude was definitely a pushover, but Eugene didn't even think he was getting scammed, he was just staring at the guy. Miriam says that he should have pushed him even harder, and bought some really expensive silk. He says that he only needed something that blocks sunlight. She says that he should enjoy life more as he's been holed up at home all this time. If vampires are the noble among nobles living a luxurious life in the grand castle bathed in moonlight wearing silk robes, commanding servants, and drinking fresh blood like wine, if he wants to rise in the world he's got to burn with ambition. He says that for someone who only ever lived in a swamp she sure does know a lot. She says she was originally in the spirit realm, so seniors who made it big in the human world come by sometimes, and give lots of words of wisdom, and tell their stories which she will never forget. She says unless he's hit by a silver blade, or gets a stake driven in his heart he'll live at least 200 years, so he should learn a bit of everything, study ancient characters, and the imperial language too. He asks if she knows how to read, and she says she doesn't. He asks if she can even do anything besides making water. But Felid then approaches him curious as to who he was talking to, and we see him sweating. Eugene says he was talking to himself, asking how his stomach is. He says he's sorry for showing him an unsightly display, but when he was preparing the rabbit it reminded him of what happened this morning, and before he knew it he couldn't help it. Felid says not to worry as he still has stamina left, and the night is long. He's also got plenty of paper, so he'll teach him as much writing as he'd like. They continue, and then a little later Eugene asks if learning letters is meant to be this easy. He says that's because he's amazing. They say he was a fairly quick learner himself, but even he needed a few months to learn everything, as normally it takes about a year. Eugene says that's excessive praise, but doesn't know if this is enough. Once they get there just being able to read a little might not cut it, after all he's becoming a noble's child overnight. Felid says that his mother never told him the details, so he never really thought about it, and it still doesn't feel real. To begin with he's not even expecting Sir Tyrwin to welcome him. They then hear the sound of horses, and turn seeing a man with a caravan behind him approaching. He greets them saying they're having trouble finding a good camping spot, saying he has a question too. Eugene instinctively guards Felid, and Eugene says that since they have proper weapons, and armor, and even formation discipline they're real mercenaries, different from the drifters he met earlier. The man then says that since he has a child in his group he's curious as to where he's headed. Eugene says he's asking questions the way a mercenary would, and if he recklessly lies it'll only make him more suspicious. He tells them that he's on his way to Lord Tyrewin's castle. The dude says that they are too, asking if they can share the space, as they'll give them alcohol, water, and lamb meat. The dude then asks if that's not too much, and we learn the captain's name is Partek. The dude tells them that they'll just share this spot anyway, asking if there are any objections. Eugene glares at him, and Partek apologizes saying that this guy Rabin only joined their group recently, and he doesn't know his place yet, asking for him to forgive the way he's acting. He then introduces himself asking Eugene who he is. Eugene tells him he's a knight, telling him his full name. Then Rabin laughs saying there's no way they should believe that. In what way does this dude look like a knight? He doesn't even have a horse or armor. Rabin then gets close into his face telling him to be honest, as he knows he's definitely not a knight, and he's never even heard of the Jan family to begin with, calling him a faker, and he starts glaring at him. Eugene glares back, and starts to grow annoyed. He says he already told Felid he was a knight, so he can't tell a different lie now. The mercenaries approach them for a different reason, and whether or not he's really a knight isn't that important to them, but if they keep pressing the situation changes. There aren't that many of them, so he can definitely kill them all, as he starts to unsheath his blade. Partek grabs onto Rabin's shoulder, then punches him in the face, sending him flying. He bounces along the floor before hitting a tree. Partek then bows, and apologizes for the rudeness of the rookie. Eugene tells him that his apology is enough, and just to choose somewhere appropriate to settle down. Partek thanks him for his mercy. Eugene says from here on out suspicion will come by often, and to avoid it he has to become a real knight as soon as possible. The night continues as he's still learning to read, and Rabin's still taking a nap. He eventually wakes up asking why he's on the floor. Partek calls him an idiot asking how he could rush at a night like that without any sense of fear. Rabin yells asking Partek what he did before Partek hits him over the head asking if he even realizes he's alive, thanks to him. Because of his actions earlier they almost all died. Rabin asks what's so scary about that shabby guy. Partek tells him that he only judges by appearance, he can't even see one step ahead, then tells him to think about how much the robe the knight is wearing cost. It's a high-grade robe padded with lycanthrope leather. Even the cheapest one is 10 silver coins. Rabin yells asking if it's really that expensive. Partek says that it's at least 3 times his monthly pay, and since they saw him reading a letter it means he's literate, so he's no ordinary guy. Plus he was very close to drawing his sword, and they all would have died, or if they were lucky maybe one other person besides him would have survived. Rabin asks how he knows that. Partek explains that while he was running his mouth without knowing his place, he had his right hand inside his robe, and his left foot was slightly drawn back. A person who can skillfully set his center of gravity to match the arc of his sword is what that means. If he was even a little slower his head would have been sent flying off. Rabin says that he could have just stopped him then. Partek says that he has no idea how terrifying knights are. A knight is someone born into a world distinguished by family, and they grab a sword from birth. They spend their entire life learning how to kill professionally, willingly entering unknown dungeons, facing the fear of death to stop monsters, then head to the battlefield to cut down fellow humans while accumulating military achievements. Only those who have stained their hands with that much blood catch the eyes of nobles, and finally receive an official appointment. Impersonating a knight is a serious crime. It's a problem if he's real, even more of a problem if he's fake. Anyone bold enough to falsely claim to be a knight won't be normal to begin with. Unless they are extremely confident in their swordsmanship they won't go around calling themselves a knight carelessly. Not all the people who devote their lives to the sword become knights. Someone who looks to be over 20 publicly declares himself one. That means his scale is pretty high. Rabin asks if that means he's stronger than Partek, and Partek says probably. On top of that he said he's heading to Lord Tyrewin's castle, which is apparently soon opening a dungeon that was discovered not long ago, and he's probably trying to get in on that. Their destination is the same, so they're running into him again. Eugene says that he's glad he has good ears, and he didn't realize how much the title of knight carried. He hopes this method keeps working from now on, but he's going to need more prep. Aside from Rabin the rest are all proper mercenaries, and he wonders whether the Tyrewin family hired the kind of trash that came to the village when they originally could have used people like this, or they could have just sent their own soldiers. But regardless he finds something odd. He walks over towards them, and Rabin freaks out asking what he's doing. Eugene says that he heard they're also going to the castle, and since their destination is the same he wants to know if they would like to travel together. He takes off his mask, and they're both dazzled asking how he's so fucking handsome. Later we see them arrive in Tyrwin's territory called Martella. Eugene says fortunately they do believe he's a knight, and if they travel together until they reach their destination he should be able to pick up some useful intel. The problem is what comes after that. Miriam says that as he ordered she eavesdropped on the mercenaries chatting. He asks if she got anything good. She explains it to him. Eugene gives us the recap saying that from what Miriam said apparently Lord Tyrwin's health is so bad that it wouldn't be strange if he died tomorrow. Also the new dungeon was recently discovered in the territory, so if he manages to clear that they could make a fortune, but the Tyrwin family currently lacks both money and troops, so they're unable to open it for exploration. Eugene thinks about it, but Miriam tells him to listen here. If Tyrwin is dying, what happens to that kid? He would just become an orphan again the moment they arrive. Eugene says that's none of his business, and she yells telling him to think about it. If he just ends up dying a dog's death at the hands of his brothers that would not be good for them. Eugene says the reason Tyrwin probably summoned Felid is because he wants to see his child's face before he dies, and regardless of what happens their fates are definitely going to change from here on out. They finally arrive at Rose Castle, which is where Tyrwin resides, and it's huge. Eugene says it's way bigger than he expected. Miriam tells him that he's going to have to climb the ranks, and live in a castle like this one day. He tells her to stop spouting nonsense, and get back inside. A guard steps up telling them to state their business. Partek speaks up first saying that they are a mercenary troop sent by the Pylon Company, asking which noble lord he might be. This is none other than Kamara, Tyrwin heir of the family, and the eldest son. He then asks if they brought his family's goods with them. Partek says yes, they brought them safely. Kamara tells him to stop yapping, and get to unloading. Then asks Eugene why he's not moving, and if he's with them. Eugene introduces himself as a knight, and then goes to introduce Felid, but the other brother of the household yells asking Kamara what he thinks he's doing. Eugene says this is a familiar voice as Verthal approaches asking how many times he had to tell him this. Inspections of outsiders is his duty as the one who guards the castle. Eugene says that he could never forget this voice as this is the man who first discovered him while he was hidden. This is the commander of the vampire hunting unit who together with Dirt tormented him mercilessly. He's a real knight, and a pretty powerful one at that. Verthal then asks his brother what he's doing here. Kamara laughs, and says that he's not going to report everything like he does, and he makes it sound like he's the heir. Verthal says that he knows what he meant. Eugene then interrupts their conversation, and says that he has a letter from Broadwin's chief. Verthal goes to take the letter. Eugene pulls it back out of his hands, and he then goes to give it to Kamara who's confused, but accepts it. Verthal just stares at him wondering what he's playing at. Kamara says that he can't believe it. The mercenaries were ambushed by wolves, and everyone in them died, and the kid he brought is a bastard son. Felid then introduces himself. Kamara laughs, and asks if he's their new brother. Verthal looks pissed, but Kamara says that they've been waiting for him, and his father is eager to see him. Verthal then sighs, and says that someone take him, and wash him, but dress him in proper clothes too. As they grab him, and lead him away Verthal starts to take his leave too, but Eugene tells him to wait. Verthal turns absolutely furious, and Eugene says that he wants to talk about the reward first. He needs to go meet Sir Tyrwin. Verthal grits his teeth, and says that he won't allow it. Eugene asks not even for a little bit, as Verthal tells him his father is not well right now. He will pay him the reward in golden coins, so he can go back. Eugene says he worked pretty hard to bring their brother here. Verthal says that he's not the type to repeat himself, but Kamara says why not. They have to introduce their brother to him, but Verthal says that he knows their father can't even stay awake for an hour during the day, so they can't let a stranger meet him. Kamara asks if he's really going to be controlling their father's schedule, but Verthal yells asking why he's twisting his words. Kamara realizes that he's got him exactly where he wanted, then apologizes to Eugene saying that it seems like he won't be able to see their father because of his brother who wants to roleplay being the heir. He then puts his hand on Eugene's shoulder, telling him to make it home safely, and walks over to Felid saying he will guide him around, and they can look around the castle first. Eugene says that he knows he wasn't going to let him meet his father from the start. We then hear someone yelling for Verthal saying that he's been looking for him everywhere, as he's carrying a dude on his shoulder. He throws him onto the floor saying that there are mercenaries that were stealing from the villagers, and that were lazing around instead of training, so he brought them here, and that they should at least kill one as an example. Verthal looks back at Eugene as the man says he knows they were temporarily hired for the dungeon raid, but Verthal says that he'll talk to the mercenaries himself later, but there are too many people listening, so they should go talk inside. The dude agrees as Partek recognizes him, saying that his name is Galferdic. Eugene asks if he knows him. Artek says that yes, he's a knight that has a very bright future ahead of him, and he placed third in the tournament hosted by the Evergrove family recently. His strength is crazy monstrous, and his skills are just as on par. That day he swept through more than 1,000 of his competitors. Eugene asks what someone like that is doing here. Artek explains that he assumes it's because of the newly discovered dungeon. Even if this area is far from the capital, it's considered a great achievement for a knight to successfully open a dungeon. That's just how difficult it is to open one in the first place, as tons of people lose their lives. He assumes that Galfredik is planning to use the dungeon as a stepping stone to get hired by a bigger family. Eugene says he sees, but asks Artek if his job is done right now. Artek says it is, but wonders why he's asking. Eugene then offers to be his next client. Later that night Galfredik is scolding the mercenaries while Kamara watches outside the window, and says that he must open the dungeon this time. His younger brother has been very openly going after the successor position ever since their father's health declined, plus he brought Galfredik here through his connections. He assumes that he's trying to use him to get into the dungeon, but if he does that everyone will be rooting for him. He thinks about how to do this as he can't just hire someone random, and debates on what to do over and over in his head. There's then a knock at the door. Someone tells him that Eugene is here to meet him. Kamara says that's the knight from earlier, telling him to let him in. He then welcomes Eugene saying that he doesn't need to worry about Felid, they're making sure he's safe. Once their father is awake he will reward him for bringing him to them safely, but he was really grateful when he gave him the letter earlier as it made him feel better. Eugene says that he's glad, but he only has business with the lord of this estate, so he was a bit taken aback when a third party intervened. Kamara is a little surprised, then asks what he wants, and if he wants his identity certification by meeting his father. Eugene says that too, but he wanted to offer him something, include him in the next dungeon raid. Kamara looks shocked, and then starts to chuckle before going into full-blown laughter, saying that he's more interesting than he thought. He looks at his clothing seeing how rugged it is, saying that he thought he was a knight. He heard that he killed about 5 robbers, and he might be trying to better his image by participating in the dungeon raid, but he doesn't know if there's a reason he should let him. Eugene says that it's because it's an offer. Kamara asks him to explain. Eugene tells him that as for the reward for opening the dungeon he'll only take 100 silver, and half the loot excluding the mana stones. Kamara says that really is a good offer, but that's what he finds suspicious. Surely he realizes that it's very little to ask for given the current economic state. Eugene asks if he likes it or not, but it's not him who's in the corner right now, so it's up to him to decide. Subscribe for more videos like this, leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.